So while I'm already all dressed up because I went out earlier, and my hand hurts because it hit it on the counter in the bathroom. It's stinging. There's a red spot. Yeah. I want to do more reaction things. A perfect one to start with, I suppose it would be a perfect one because there's so much that I want to say about it, is this one that I showed you before in the Asian record ones with all of that stuff. It's called L.O.R.D. Critical World. When you look it up online, it's literally L.O.R.D, but nowhere in anything have I ever found what that's supposed to stand for. Like, usually if there's a dot after the letters, that means each of those stands for something. So if anybody knows, why is it spelled like that? It's 48 episodes long. It's a Chinese fantasy action drama. So like there's magic and all that stuff. The lords are the ones that are like the most powerful magicians in the country. They're like the most powerful. So there's 7 lords. And each of these lords, I guess number 1 is allowed to have 3 disciples, whereas the other 6 are only allowed 1 disciple at a time. It took a long time before it specified that. You kind of sort of maybe guess, but at the same time you just kind of think that, well, I guess they just all just have 1 right now. Well, no. Near the end of the drama, they finally mentioned something about, since you're Lord 1, you're allowed to have. I'm like, oh, so Lord 1 is allowed 3 disciples and everybody else is only allowed 1. It's not just, it just happens to be. That's all you're allowed. Okay, got it. Now, near the end of the drama, you finally tell me this. But the lords all have their like flow of power that's, I think, the silver priests bestow it on them, and then they give it to their disciples. And this flow of power and the magic and all the rest of that stuff, that is like very much, I don't know which religion it's based in. If you like specifically went and found the name Marcia Montenegro, she talks about this kind of stuff a lot. So I don't know if it's Taoist or Buddhist or if there's another one I'm not thinking of. She could probably easily tell you. If you look through her videos, she probably talks about it somewhere. Because, yeah, it's her type of topic that she talks about all the time, that kind of stuff, and what's wrong with all of it. And this fits right in there. So just saying that, I love the magic and all that stuff, but the way they use the water and the fire and the earth and the wind are the elements that all the magic is based off of, and that right there. And then on top of that, they specifically specify that there's the flow of power within their bodies, and each one has a different spot. That's I forget the word they use, but basically the core of it, and that's where it all stems from. They all have a different spot on their body, and you have to protect that. If someone wants to kill you, they can easily kill you if they hit you there, and that kind of stuff. So there's all of that involved. But so it's a fantasy action, and I started it on May 30th and I finished it on June 21st. I was watching other stuff in between there because, yeah, the thing about it is that it like, I didn't realize exactly what was wrong until, yeah, the story actually kind of dragged for like 18 episodes, 18 to 20, somewhere in there episodes. It was pretty much dragging, and then it actually got really interesting, but only for about 15-ish episodes. It was kind of the edge of the seat. And then it just started going downhill, and I absolutely hate the ending for more than one reason. I'm trying not to be like spoilers at first. This is just a general overview, and then we'll get into spoilers. Is this drama worth watching? Well, I don't regret the fact I watched it. I'm pretty mad at the ending. I told my sister there's a couple of things, just a couple of things. It doesn't take much. If you change it, it wouldn't be bad. It's worth watching. There's just a couple of things about it that I personally just makes me so mad that I'll probably never watch it again. I might skip through certain parts of it because that's the annoying thing about this one. They got some very well done parts, like really well done parts in it, and some like really good acting and some good acting and some bad acting. But then they dropped the ball on other things, and like, okay, the first spoiler, it is an open ending. The story is not finished, and I hate open endings. Especially when they throw some weird, out of the blue wrench in there. which they did at the end of this one, and I'm like, what? And I know there's no more. I think this comes from a book, and there are 2 movies called Legend of Ravaging Dynasty. But the 2 movies are like a retelling, like a different version of the story from what I've heard. And they have different actors in them. It's like computer graphic anime based on real people's faces. I was skipping through it with my best friend because she's seen them. I don't know if I'll ever watch them because it's kind of annoying watching a retelling of the same story. And it's really annoying when you skip to different actors playing characters. I already watched 48 episodes of these actors playing these characters. So, that's kind of an overview. Should you ever waste your time on watching it or not? I mean, it's up to you. There's probably a lot of things that you wouldn't be as irked by as I was. Maybe you're fine with open endings. If you're fine with open endings, and you're fine with like that weird little wrench in there, you probably be fine watching this drama. When I was watching it through the first time, there were 4 characters specifically that if they were the only ones on screen, I skipped 98% of it, and we'll get to why. So even the first time through, I don't care. I'm not watching it. I'm not wasting my time on that. Forget it. And I do have good reasons. It's not just that, like, when I get annoyed, I'm like, whatever. It's my time. I can spend it how I want. I don't want to watch those characters. Go away. So, like, even the first time, 5 characters that if they were the only ones on screen, I was skipping it. This is going to be more than one video because there's some stuff I really want to focus on, but I don't want to make like hour-long videos. I'm trying to cut stuff down so it like, more precise. But there's a couple of things, like for one thing, they have like their silver priests in this thing. And I don't know, it's a personal, I don't like it when there's these characters that are like, the silver priests are stuck inside this like crystal thing. To me, every time you went and saw these guys, they already knew everything. They constantly have people come and report to them, but every time someone comes and report to them what's happening, they're like, yeah, we already knew that. I'm like, then why do you have all these people reporting to you? This is so dumb. And they're like, so it's like, they're like all-knowing, but they aren't all-knowing. Like, they know these things, but they don't know these things. And I'm like, you're stuck in the crystal. Like, what's going on? And they're like, they can't move. So they're like, always like this, and all that moves is their eyes. And they use like telepathy voice to like speak. I just don't like that, okay? None of that. I don't like any of that. And then on top of it, I started having to mute the sound every time they spoke. These 2 voices, one was a male voice and one was a female voice, and they're talking at the same time. So this male and female voice overlapping, to me, that is just cacophony, and I can't stand it. I just can't stand it, okay? It's like, it shakes me down to the core. It's just, all through me. So, like, I had to mute it every time they said anything. Which was irksome, because there was one character that regularly, when you saw them, one of my favorite characters, like, a lot of the scenes, it was that character talking to these guys. So I kept having to mute, unmute, because I wanted to hear my favorite character speak, but I can't stand the way these priests talk. So, there was that issue. Then, another overall issue. This is another one of those dramas that brings the word bromance into it. I have major issues with the word bromance, and nobody will ever be able to change my mind on it, so don't even try. People like to use the word bromance, and there's 2 different ways you can use it. One is the innocent way, and one is the non-innocent way. We won't go into that. The problem is, before you even go into whether you're using it the innocent way or the non-innocent way, the word bromance itself, that is a mashup of the word brother and the word romance. Flat out, you already have a massive problem with that. Brothers and romance do not mesh. Siblings and romance do not mesh. They are completely different types of love. There is no romance between siblings, okay? Stop it. You either have a relationship with someone where they're like your sibling, or you have a relationship with someone like they're your romantic partner that you want to get in bed with. There is a massive difference between those 2. It is not okay in any way, shape, or form to mix the word brother and romance. That is just wrong on so many different levels. It is disgusting on so many different levels. Don't do it. It is so wrong to use that word. Don't use the word bromance. Ever. Don't. It is so wrong. It implies so many. I don't care if you want to use it the innocent way. It's no. Mixing brother and romance, you have already crossed the line. Don't do it. And that, like, the how that comes into this drama is because when you have the lords and the disciples, they claim in this drama, here's another issue. When they share their power flow, it automatically, they claim, creates this bond between the Lord and the disciple. It's like this literally irresistible attraction to each other where you just love them and you can't even help it. Don't. Why? Especially when you take into account the fact that throughout the show, a few more spoilers here, you've got a husband and wife that are Lord and disciple, you've got a father and daughter that are a disciple, you've got a brother and a sister that are a disciple, you've got a man and a woman that are disciples, you've got two men that are disciples. Way later on, you've actually got two women that I think kind of ended up as Lord and disciple, sort of. That one's a little tricky. But you've got like all these different, those are 5 completely different types of relationships. Very different. And you've got this weird, awkward bond where it's like, literally, like a romantic attraction. Like you find them so charming. You like look at them and suddenly there's fuzzies all over the place because you're like, oh, I'm gonna blush. They're like so, oh, irresistibly attractive to me. I just can't help it. That is like massively disturbing, okay? Massively disturbing, over the top, incredibly disturbing. And I don't know why anybody would want to. It reminds me of a book series that's out there. It's irresistible. I can't help it when it's an adult and a child. A baby, a newborn baby. You know what book I'm talking about, if you know. If you don't, just don't go there. That is just massively disturbing to me. On top of the fact that it's a man attracted to a man. Just, I mean, like I said, siblings and romance. No! There is a brother and sister in this one, and they are a Lord and a disciple. So it's like, even stronger than the brother and sister now, this irresistible bond between the Lord and his disciple. I'm like, no! This is a brother and a sister. Stop it! And I mean, okay, fine, if you're a husband and wife, that's fine. But that's a father and his daughter. And like they throw all these kinks in there, so it's like, well, it's not quite a true bond because of all this, like, spoilers. There's like these like issues with their bond because it wasn't quite a complete bond. They actually do that more than once. There's a few of them. There's at least 2 I can think of, and like I say, the 2 girls, I don't know if they were actually officially bonded. So there's like these 3 that are kind of sort of a bond, but they aren't because of the tricky situation involved in their bond. But it's just, that is massively disturbing to me. I don't like that part of I wish they'd left that out. To say there's this bond where you're like, you're connected with them, fine. But when they cross the line into they're so charming and irresistibly attractive to me, when they're using all these different types of relationships between lords and disciples, that is just over the top disturbing. That's not okay. That is actually not okay. And the way they present it, it makes it like, you're like, and then you're like, oh, well, fine, nobody's making a big deal, so you end up accepting it. That is not something that it's okay to accept. Don't turn your brain off like that. Think about the implications of what that means. The word bromance and this whole bond idea where it's an irresistible attraction where you just can't help it. And it turns out it's fine because it turns out to be like, you know, you just both care so much about each other. And the whole relationship of actually knowing somebody, it comes later, so it all works out in the end. No. Hold up, stop. Start really thinking about that, okay? Like, just take 10 minutes and really think about the implications of all of that. Okay. So, the overall of whether you should watch it or not, it's subjective. It depends what bothers you and what doesn't. I'm not going to write this off as something that's completely not worth your time. I don't regret watching it. There's actually lots of really interesting or cool things. There's plenty of characters that I loved, and there's actually some of them that I didn't like at first and started liking later on. So there's that. And incredibly, they actually have quite a few female characters that are actually quite strong and well done. The whole issue of strong female characters and what it means to be a real strong female character versus this ridiculous stupidity that's not a strong woman at all. That's just a stupid idiot. Get her off the screen. So, I'm going to stop it there for now. If you watched that, thank you, and continue watching to find out more specifics, because there's some real deep topics that I want to get into that this drama brings out. So look forward to that. Bye.